Hi, Terry. I can tell time with an analog clock with no numbers on it and can read and write cursive here. And welcome to Time's Gone Tech. Okay, so bear with me if I end up talking really fast. Got a little bit of a computer problem. Let me explain what's going on. I was actually supposed to publish this video last weekend, and I did film it. Turns out it was about 40 minutes long, and YouTube couldn't publish it. They couldn't upload it and put it on, and it wasn't their fault. Wasn't YouTube's fault. This time, it was my computer. For some reason, if I start getting up around 30 minutes in length, it won't compile properly. I really need to get a new computer, maybe for Christmas, maybe for my birthday I will, but it's actually kind of good because I tend to rant for like 45 minutes to an hour at a time. Then I get to spend an hour editing it down. So this way, if I can keep it down to about 10, 15 minutes, first of all, people won't lose interest and go somewhere else. They'll stick around and watch it. And it keeps me from going off on all these little tangents, going down all these little rabbit holes. So anyway, on subject. This video, I'm pretty sure, is going to make about a half a dozen or more Larry the Liars really mad at me. At least one, maybe two of which are going to regale me with their non-existent credentials, like their 3 college degrees with their perfect 4.0 grade average, and their 40 years of experience as an internationally acclaimed, award-winning gunsmith specializing in flintlocks, assuring me of just how wrong I am. Don't care. And at least one, maybe two more Larrys are going to insist that they saw it happen to their close friend, loved one, neighbor, whatever, and will indignantly demand to know if I'm calling him a liar. Yes. You see, the thing about this myth is it dates back to the 1970s. That's the first time I actually heard it. So, way back before social media and the internet and word of mouth. So, this is one of those things that defies the laws of physics, and yet people insist on believing in it. So I got my notes here because you notice I just started kind of going off on a tangent. So this will keep me on track here. So first, the story. And like I said, keep in mind, this is my third filming of this video. So here goes. Okay. Now, once upon a time in a place far, far away, I was out shooting with my friend, and he was loading his flintlock, and he put it on half cock. He primed the pan, and then he was pouring powder, and then he put a ball, and he was ramming the ball down. And while he was doing that, that cock just suddenly dropped down onto the frizzen, and the thing discharged. Now, at that point, one of several things happened, depending on who's telling the story. One, the ramrod just blows up into the air and it scares everybody, but nobody gets hurt. Minor burns, maybe. Two, the ramrod went right completely through his friend's hand. And then the third person telling the story remembered that, like the first two forgot, he remembered that there's actually a ball down in that barrel, and it went up and it blew a couple of fingers off and permanently maimed his friend for life. Okay, this myth is complete and total bullshit. Never happened. I'm going to call you out if you insist it did. I'm calling you out. No, it did not. Now, first of all, let me finish this up here. The moral of this story is never prime the pan first, which the safety Nazis always tell us not to do. Or if you're going to, always use a frizzen cover, which the safety Nazis want us all to use. Are you beginning to get where this myth came from? Yeah. Okay. Now, this is actually based on another myth about flintlocks. Now, never mind the fact that cap locks use exactly the same identical internal workings from the same time period, roughly, as a flintlock. In fact, a lot of flintlocks were converted to cap locks. The only difference is the cock becomes a hammer, and then the flash pan in frizzen becomes a nipple. That's the only difference. But nobody ever tells this story about a cap lock. It's always flintlock. And here's why. There is this perceived myth that flintlock technology, because it's primitive, I prefer to call it ingeniously simple, but because it's primitive, it's also unreliable, unpredictable, and therefore inherently dangerous, which actually the exact opposite is the case. The internal workings, and see, and this is where I got into my 40-minute video. This is where I took the lock off of one of my flintlocks, turned it around, and let you look at it, and I pointed out why this myth can't happen. And before you get on your keyboard, start pounding away, yeah, man, but there's a lot of different designs. Some of them might. Shut up, because you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm in one of those moods today. Okay, what this story is really saying is that flintlocks, not cap locks, which use the exact same internal workings, more or less, flintlocks can randomly discharge when on half cock at any time without warning. Now, flintlocks are specifically designed to not do that. Think about this. The early 17th century, that's 1600s, Russian Baltic snap lock, which was the very first original flintlock that I'm building now, it cannot discharge on half cock randomly. It just can't do it. None of them could, from the snap lock all the way up into the 1800s. They just don't do that. You ever hear the expression, don't go off half cocked? That's where it came from, flintlocks. Flintlocks don't go off half cocked. And here's why. Again, I would have normally showed you this, but on the inside of the workings on this, they've got a thing called a tumbler, which has a groove in it, which would be my hand here. And then you got a trigger sear, which would be my finger here. Now, when you pull it back on half cock, that trigger sear goes into that groove. And a spring, a very powerful spring, locks it in there. It can't go forward. It can only go back. It can't go forward. The cock and the tumbler are a square peg in a square hole, literally. They can't slip. The cock cannot slip independently of the tumbler. The tumbler cannot slip independently of the cock. They are literally, one is a hole and one is an axle, and they screw together, and the one is literally a square peg in a square hole. Okay, okay. Got to keep from rambling. In fact, yeah, I'm doing okay now. 8 minutes. Okay. The half cock position on a flintlock is the safe position. It is designed specifically to be the safe position. Not kind of sort of safe, not maybe a little safe, not sometimes safe, sometimes not. Oh, not always safe over here. Oh, now it wasn't. Now it is again. No. That sear can't just drop out. Oh, look, it just backed up and dropped. No, it can't do that. Okay? Birds can't just turn into an orange. It can't happen. In some people's fantasy world, maybe. Starting to ramble. So, where was I again? Yeah. The half cock position on a flintlock is the safe position. It is what makes it safe to load with no fear of that cock dropping against the frizzen. Makes it safe to carry around loaded without fear of it just suddenly discharging for no reason. Now, in one of his videos, Paul Harrell stated once that there were some people who could swear on a stack of Bibles that they were just standing around holding their handgun on safe position, safety engaged, finger off the trigger, and it just discharged suddenly for no reason. He didn't much believe them either. All right? All claimed random discharges, with one or two very rare exceptions, are always shooter-caused negligent discharges. Going to get into that. So, is there any kernel of truth to this video? Is there any kernel of truth to this myth whatsoever? Any kind of a real event that could have happened that inspired this myth? Yes, actually there is. One, The shooter could have inadvertently and unknowingly put the weapon back on full cock, thinking it was on half cock. Now, that's not that hard to do, actually, especially if you're under stress, competition shooting or somebody talking to you, you're distracted. Yeah, you could put it back on full cock without realizing it. He loads it. You standing there talking to someone, he pulls the trigger, bang. Oh, did you see that? My God, that thing just went off on half cock. No, it didn't. But anyway, people believe him. A few exaggerations creep in the retelling of the story, and then Larry the liar comes in, and the exaggerations become a bald-faced lie. That's one way this myth could have gotten started. Okay, the second way is the shooter could have tried filing down the trigger sear to lighten the trigger pull. Flintlocks are renowned for having stiff trigger pulls, and he could have tried filing that trigger sear or the notch on the tumbler down so it'd slip out easier, and filed entirely too much off. Then again, unknowingly put it on half cock, and while he was loading it, it could have randomly discharged while he was pushing the ball down. To a casual observer, especially if he swore later it was on half cock, and look, man, I know the difference between half cock and full cock, okay? So don't go telling me I had it on full cock, because I know the difference. Apparently you didn't, because the only way that could happen is if it was on full cock. But then it could randomly discharge while pushing the ball down. That could have given rise to this myth. Larry the liar steps in. There you go. Okay, number 3. If the gun had double set triggers, and this shooter had this really unsafe habit of putting it on full cock, setting the back trigger, then while he's loading it, banging on the ground and that hair trigger goes off, yeah, on full cock again. Fourth, many, I'm not going to say all, but many flintlocks have on the inside what's called a bridle. Now the bridle really is just an internal support that holds all of the tumbler and spring, all the working parts in proper alignment. And it helps absorb shock from when the cock drops and the recoil of the explosion of the discharge, and keeps everything in alignment, and it helps minimize wear. Some have one bridle, some have two bridles, one on the inside, one on the outside, and some don't have any. Now, if the shooter's gun had no bridle and it had been used a lot, I mean a lot, over many, many years, it's possible those internal parts could have loosened up, worn down, maybe part of the notch that trigger sear fits into could have broken off over time, and because it had no maintenance done on it, the shooter didn't realize it. It's theoretically possible that he could have been loading. It could really have been on half cock, and it could have discharged. That's possible. But notice, that's not what the myth is about. It's never a worn out old piece of junk that should be thrown away. The gun was not modified. It was not on full cock at all. It was guaranteed. We know the difference. It was on half cock. And that's what cannot happen. That's the bullshit part. All right, let me see here. I'm running out of time. Okay, now to a casual observer, those first 3 could have seemed like it discharged on half cock, especially if the shooter is swearing it was on half cock, because I know the difference. Well, apparently he didn't. Okay, now, the thing about it is this. If you're going to lie about something, at least lie about something that could actually happen. All right? Do some research. Get your facts straight. It's not that hard. Flintlocks don't go off half-cocked. No, it did not discharge on half-cocked. The cock just dropped against the frizzen and did not blow your friend's hand off. No, it didn't. Shut up. Go away. Can't happen. Now, if you're determined to believe that it can happen, and you're determined to insist that you saw it happen, here's all you got to do, right? Don't talk. Show us the lock. Don't even put a comment to this video. Don't even post a comment. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't want to hear your bullshit explanations. Find that lock. Find the lock that has the design flaw built into it, new, off the shelf that will allow it to discharge randomly on half cock without warning. Take it off the gun, turn it around, show it to us, show us the design flaw. I want to see it go off on half cock. Show us that it can happen. Not worn out, not modified, not damaged, not malfunctioning, not some bizarre 15th century Baltic snap lock thing. A modern reproduction or very good quality, very good condition, antique, 18th century flintlock. Show it to us. That's all you got to do. And I will fully retract this entire video. I'll admit I'm wrong, and I will apologize and say that you were completely right. I hope you don't mind, though, if I don't hold my breath waiting, because it's never going to happen. That lock does not exist. So that's all for this video. I wish I could, yeah, I'm about out of time. I wish I could take the lock apart and show it to you. I tried twice. My computer just won't let me do it. But what I can do is follow up in another video in, say a week or two, doing just that without the rant. Just show you the internal workings of the flintlock and why it cannot randomly discharge on half cock. Can't happen. Sorry, but there it is. So, yeah, I'll see if I can get this one uploaded. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.